No, you know what happens when the government goes in and they build low-income housing homes is it brings in people with low income, brings everybody's housing prices way down. Peace. Go.
Can't wait. I can't wait till someone's like, she just wants to subsidize demand. She just wants to subsidize demand. That's going to increase the price of homes.
What do you think happens to the costs of homes when the government artificially gives people money in order to buy homes?
I think if you increase supply by 3 million.
He's doing it. Oh my God. I told you guys he was going to do it.
And gains.
Yeah, bro, because everybody's gotta work 3 jobs to buy fucking 1 thing of milk, bro.
Oh my God. What a as a percentage of people who work, as a percentage of the workforce of people who work 2 jobs is like, it was at record lows after COVID. And now, because the labor market is getting weaker or whatever, because of high interest rates, now it's about the same as it was pre-COVID. Like, he has to know. There's no way he doesn't know that talking point is a lie by now, right?
Most of those jobs are going to people that were foreign-born, and so that...
It's such a dumb talking point. Most of the jobs are going to people who are foreign-born. Ay, ay, ay.
That under Biden, it was way worse. Everyone knows that they're trying to fudge the numbers. People don't want to talk about it. That's
They're trying to fudge the numbers?
why the American people think the economy is better under Trump.
You know what? You're right, Rob Nor. They are fudging the numbers. You know what they're fudging it with? They're fudging it upwards with owner's equivalent rent. That's so true, Rob Nor. I agree, Rob Nor. They are fudging it. Why are we all using CPI when CPI gives the highest measure of inflation? Why aren't we using PCE or a harmonized index which give lower measures of inflation? I agree. I can't believe the Biden administration would keep the inflation numbers artificially high.
That means when you're considering voting, knowing this, you and all the people you know that are eligible to vote are actually losing jobs. Fourth, jobs are...
They're not. No, they're not, though. The prime age employment population is at all-time high.
hardly important if real wages are going down, which real wages have been going down.
Real wages haven't, at least not for the bottom 10% of workers, they haven't been going down.
You made a claim before that we couldn't identify a single policy that she put forward.
No, I didn't. That's not what you said.
You said a policy that makes her stand out, which who knows what the hell that means.
You said that none of the Democrat left-wing people on this panel are going to be able to identify a single policy.
You called you liberal scumbags.
Nope, I didn't.
Nope,
it's incorrect.
Are you going to let Trump make it? I can't comment on that, Joe Billy.
Yes, I'll stop talking. Go to the VOD. I said you would find a single policy position that made her stand out, Pisco.
How about the purchase? What would you think about the purchase of, or the construction of 3 million new homes? That was a policy put out.
So 3 million new homes. Oh, that really made her stand out. What a great policy for America.
I don't know why. What any fault? Like, shouldn't he want a relatively moderate president? Like, he's a right wing guy. Shouldn't he want a relatively moderate president? Not like someone who really stands out amongst the Democrats. Like, a policy that would make her stand out. It's probably going to be way too progressive for anything he likes. I don't see why this matters. Yeah, the majority Democrats are not going to stand out when placed next to other Democrats. They're a party of they're a political party. They have similar ideas. Like,
so that's what we have here, right? So anything that we propose that we think will either
my ADHD brain, Malibu, requires something going on in the background.
Be incremental or be different. This is a policy that neither Trump proposed, that Biden didn't propose. It is a novel policy. Would you acknowledge that, Andrew? It's not.
No, I don't think it's novel. Democrats have been talking about the rebuilding of America through infrastructure every single election of my lifetime.
Infrastructure?
Then guess what? We passed the infrastructure bill,
yes.
So get fucked.
Yes, of course it's infrastructure.
What is not infrastructure, Andrew?
What are you talking about?
Is everything infrastructure?
Everything that the government is going to build, if they're going to build public housing, yeah, I would consider that to be infrastructure. Sure.
Would you consider the government?
She didn't even say public housing, by the way. She just wants 3 million new homes. Period. Some of it is going to be private housing that she's going to set up tax incentives to build.
It's just like giving checks to people to spend on their rent. Is that infrastructure?
No, that would be welfare.
Oh, so what's the definition of infrastructure for you?
Why are we being pedantic with this? Just tell me what you want, Pisco. Get to what you're getting to.
What you're trying to do is you're trying to put a big label on it and say infrastructure and say, well, it's just the same kind of infrastructure policy as before because, look, Biden had an infrastructure policy. You know that there's a difference in kind between purchasing homes and purchasing.
I don't think it made it stand out, Pisco.
They're different, right?
It didn't make it stand out, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not to you.
Why I don't. Why are they even like fighting with this like to his standard, to his like dumbass standard? Why? Why do we need her? Why do we need her to stand out on policy? Isn't the fact that her policy is better good enough? Like, who cares?
Because you're gonna. Because
the next day was like, oh my God, did you hear Kamala?
I played City Skylines in the background sometimes. Sometimes I do that. I don't really play many strategy games, but.
Yeah. New home. Nobody said that. Pisco. Nobody gives a shit.
Wait. Okay, how about just clear?
Also, my computer cannot handle playing City Skylines 2 and watching a video and streaming at the same time. But I can't play City Skylines 1. I do that sometimes.
3 million homes. Pisco, nobody fucking
clearly
cares.
say why 3 million. Wait,
People don't care about.
Pisco, clearly say why 3 million homes matter, and then we'll have Andrew just respond clearly instead of talking over each other.
So clearly, the American people have made it abundantly apparent to everybody that housing prices and the price of housing is a big concern of theirs. In fact, it's one of the big sources of angst in America and Middle America, as well as in other countries, Canada, UK. Everyone is going through a cost of living crisis in this country. And for Andrew to say, "Oh, who the fuck cares about houses? Who the fuck cares about prices and homes?"
Yep,
Shows
nobody
what's going
cares.
on here. He doesn't care. And what's more is Andrew sort of bills himself as a person for the family. Isn't that what you
You
want?
bought it? City Skylines 2? Yeah. It'll get good eventually, right? Right? I also bought Kerbal Space Program 2. That'll get good eventually, right? Eventually they'll fix it,
Don't you
right?
want permanent homes, people to have connections.
No,
to
you know what
roots.
happens when the government goes in and they build low-income housing homes is it brings in people with low income, brings everybody's housing prices way down. Pisco. That's what ends up happening.
Oh, I can't wait till somebody dude, I cannot wait until somebody on this panel mentions that the subsidy to home buyers, the $25,000 subsidy will Did you see the illegal trade that happened? No. Will increase the price of homes. I can't wait till someone's like, she just wants to subsidize demand. She just wants to subsidize demand. That's going to increase the price of homes. After Andrew's making his point, which is somewhat correct. This is the literal like NIMBY talking point. If we build new homes, the value of homes will go down. But that is the point. There are to some extent winners and losers for everything. What makes housing policy really hard is you have to expand the housing supply enough so that new home buyers can't afford to buy in, but you also can't expand it too fast, too quickly. Otherwise, Andrew is correct. You will cause people's net worth to fall because housing is how many Americans build wealth. But luckily, you know, there's actually a country that does this really well. Okay, and it's called Singapore. Harris's plan is actually quite similar to Singapore's housing plan, which does ensure that housing supply increases slowly enough so people's houses still rise in value and they can still build wealth, but also ensures that low-income people can afford to buy into the system with housing subsidies and modest increases in supply. Harris's housing policy is really good. Owned Epic Factory.
Low-income houses.
Bro, are you gonna let me finish? My turn. I just let you talk. Remember how I did that? You're gonna do the same thing for me. So here's what happened.
Also, this is just like a basic like think on the margin thing. Like, doesn't he talk a lot of econ today regarding debt? Yeah, I watched a little bit of his stream today where I saw him talking about interest rate stuff.
Okay, anytime the government. Oh, sorry, Hutch. Are you gonna cry, Hutch? Or go cry, Hutch? You want me to go get you a
I'm pointing it out.
Okay, we're gonna let Andrew finish. We're gonna go down.
Fucking time.
We're gonna let Andrew finish. We have other people that want to talk, so I don't want to get to others. I know Turk's been waiting patiently. So Andrew, finish your point.
Yeah, anytime the government decides that they're going to build houses for people and get them out there, I'm guessing you want to get them in the hands of those who need them the most, which are going to be lower income people who probably don't qualify for them under today's market. Otherwise, why would you be fucking building them? Otherwise, let me finish, Bisco. Let me finish, Bisco. Otherwise, why would you build them? If
Part of it, by the way, is building. All right, as soon as they even say building, I like just cutting the red tape involved that restricts the zoning laws that restrict land use, that restrict the building of denser homes and affordable homes. That is part of our policy as well. Yeah, it's not just building homes. It's allowing the market to build what people demand. It's not just the evil government building homes that people won't even qualify for.
If people just qualified for them right now and could go get them, you wouldn't need to fucking build them. So you're going to be building them for the people who don't qualify for them. And since that is the case, you're going to be building them for people with low income. Low income people are going to come in. It's going to drive the pricing of housing down. That's all Democrats ever do. They're scumbags. Don't give a shit about anybody except themselves. And of course, it's not their money. What do they care?
God damn.
Point, so I do want to go back to him, and then we're going to Turk. And Hutch, I got
It's
you
a
down.
dumb assumption for Andrew to say low-income people are the ones who are primarily going to be doing these purchases. It is true that I think that with the $25,000 first home-time buyer a provision that's included as part of the plan, that might attract some people who wouldn't be able to afford homes. But the whole point of Kamala's entire policy is to drive down housing.
Wait, so I was right, Bisco?
Hang on. But that is what people have been asking for, is to make it affordable for people to own homes. Now,
You said you would let. I interrupted him.
What Andrew is saying is, I don't want housing to become affordable for people. I don't want people to be able to purchase homes.
Why the fuck do I need? Oh, I can use any egg. Okay, sugar. How do I make a pie crust?
And I think that policies that are crafted for that aim.
Do you think debt to GDP matters? Not as I think really the only thing that matters is the net interest payment, because that that subtracts away from the government's ability to spend on other things. I think it just matters how much we're paying on interest as a percentage of the government budget. That subtracts. I should say, you are correct. You're going to say it's a self-imposed constraint that we don't allow ourselves to just monetarily finance things. But it's with our current self-imposed constraints, the net interest payments. Interest is always determined by the Fed. Well, I'm saying like the net interest that we pay on the debt. Oh, I can fucking. What a dumbass mod.
Are stupid. I mean,
which actually is really high. It's like 30% right now. The budget just goes to paying debt.
Say what you feel and admit that you don't
look at
you don't really care.
We gotta
You don't really care about people having access to affordable housing.
No, you don't care.
I want to throw it over to Turk.
Yeah. So anyway, Pisco. Here's the thing, though, man. Right? Is you just made.
So Turk, continue.
Yeah, so I got a smart aleck answer, and then I got a pushback on Pisco, and then I also wanted to kind of engage Pisco on the original claim of the quality of the debate. So first thing, the government has a really hard time actually defining things because infrastructure can mean a whole bunch of different things, but so can inflation. And if you went to and heard the Joe Biden clip where he said the Inflation Act or whatever should have been called something else about the green energy. So that's that point. And the second thing is,
I mean, the Inflation Reduction Act did also have a lot of green energy portions in it. That's such a dumb. So can inflation. Yes, correct. maybe you Republicans should stop using only CPI to measure inflation and keep saying inflation is higher than it really is. We should only be using the harmonized number because inflation can mean many things, and I think it means only the harmonized number, which doesn't include owner's equivalent rent.
What do you think happens to the costs of homes when the government artificially gives people money in order to buy homes?
I think if you increase supply by 3 million.
He's doing it. Oh my God. I told you guys he was going to do it. He's going to do it. They're going to do it after Andrew mentions, hey, this is going to decrease the price of homes. Now this guy's going to mention the government is giving people money to subsidize demand. It's going to increase the price of homes. Oh, I knew it was going to happen. I told you guys.
Encourage first-time owners. I'm not sure about the net inflationary effect or the net price effect on that. I'm not an economist, so I couldn't tell you. But you're massively increasing supply, and yes, you are providing incentives for certain types of people to get housing. So I don't know.
Low-income people, Pisco. Like I said.
No. Sorry.
No income, like I said, Pisco.
Hang on a second. So is it different in your mind, Andrew? First-time home buyers and low-income people. Are those things different? Yes.
So Andrew's.
Are those things different? Yes or no? Andrew?
I mean, first-time home buyers are going to be relatively low income.
However, no, Pisco, it doesn't make your point.
Yeah. So
Pisco, the thing is that I can say there's a distinction between the two. What you're trying to draw in is people can't afford houses right now. People who can't afford houses right now are going to be people who don't have a lot of fucking money. Right, Pisco? Answer my question. Answer my question,
Not
Pisco.
necessarily.
No, of course not. No, they have tons of money. They have tons of money, Andrew. That's why they can't afford houses.
Not necessarily.
One day, Copeland, okay.
As you're aware, even people who would be considered kind of middle income have been priced out in certain places.
Oh yeah, they've been priced out. Where are they priced out?
I can't hear
That's a
it.
good point, Pisco. Everybody's priced out. You can't even go buy food at the grocery store, and they're worried about fucking housing prices. It's the most outrageous, ridiculous bullshit I've ever seen.
You guys sound so out of touch.
Problems. Oh, I'm out of touch.
No.
I'm not out of touch. Listen. When they had a jobs report come back, it's 800,000 less. If I took it to my stockholders.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Now we're bringing up the 800,000 jobs that we're missing. Oh, yeah. That was the yearly jobs number, right? That's like less than like 1% of like all the jobs that were added. Yeah, sometimes job numbers get revised down. Sometimes GDP gets revised down. Hey, guess what? Sometimes it gets revised up. Our GDP was actually revised upward. We grew faster than we thought our real GDP. That's inflation adjusted GDP was revised upward. So much so that real GDP is now higher than pre-COVID projections. Yes, I will mention it again because it is unbelievable. Absolutely Giga Chad US moment. Giga Chad
Hey, we're gonna make
Canadian win.
800,000 less this year than what was predicted. Guess what? My stock prices would.
First-time home buyers are going to be relatively low income. Aren't people buying homes for the first time going to be relatively high income but low wealth? I should say low wealth. Yes, yeah. Yeah. Obviously, people who don't have homes yet are going to be lower in total wealth relative to a lot of people who own homes. Diamond.
Drop. It's the same thing here. They're lying, and then they turn around and go, "Hey, we're going to give you this little consolation prize, housing."
Maybe I should just make my base here.
which probably won't even solve the problem. And secondly, it's such a drop in the bucket, it doesn't affect any of the real issues. It's total fucking bullshit. And you're over here going, they're so good.
Even with
They're
that,
so good,
even
these
with that
cash.
revision, Biden had stronger job numbers than Trump did.
Bro.
Even if you take away COVID losses and gains.
Yeah, bro, because everybody's got to work 3 jobs to buy fucking 1 thing of milk, bro.
Oh my god, what a day. I've seen Admiral Gibbs on so many panels. Like, does he actually not? Someone has to have mentioned to him before that people are working, like, as a percentage of people who work, as a percentage of the workforce, that people who work 2 jobs is like, it was at record lows after COVID, and now because the labor market is getting weaker or whatever because of high interest rates, now it's about the same as it was pre-COVID. Like, he has to know. There's no way he doesn't know that talking point is a lie by now, right? I have to. There's no shot. I've seen him on so many panels that, like.
Like, no,
Yeah, great argument, Hutch. We devastated the economy.
3 jobs, we saved it, bro. Yeah.
You made it clear, Rob.
Are you? I don't even. Do they even know? I guess they mentioned jobs numbers. They didn't. They didn't say unemployment. But, like, do these people even know how unemployment is actually calculated? I'll pull up the Fred chart in a second to show that I am correct. I just want to get this loot.
You can't hear you. I'm gonna check jobs.
There's too many people talking at the same time. I want to hear what Hutch said clearly. I know Turk never got the
Fred,
so we will get Turk again, but he got half of the statement out. There's a lot of people. I want to hear Hutch's point clearly. We'll have one person respond, not 3.
It's a simple point. He made a point about how
jobs.
they revised the job numbers down. But even if you
Multiple job holders as a percentage of employed. You can see right before the COVID recession, it was 5.2%, and now we're back at 5.2%. We're at exactly the same rate as it was pre-COVID. It was briefly 5.3%. Yeah, it was really low right after COVID and slowly climbed back up to exactly what it was before. I wonder what the average is probably higher under Trump even, because Trump didn't have this huge dip. Or no, well, Trump was president during this huge dip. But yeah, it's been pretty low under Biden the entire time. Okay, well,
you account for that,
Wi-Fi.
there were more jobs that were created on Biden's watch. Even if you get rid of the job losses during COVID and then the bounce back, the
multiple
initial
jobs
recovery.
is pretty fun.
Not true.
So
I'll
if
respond
you're
to this.
making a
It's
point
not
about
true.
jobs,
Does multiple job holders include people with 2 part-time jobs? I'm not sure, actually. I don't know exactly how it's calculated. I know U6 unemployment counts people who have 2 part-time jobs as unemployed. But I don't know.
Not
we
true.
need
So
to
first off,
address that.
Totally
it's not
false.
true. Just to
It's
reference
not
the
false.
jobs.
Anybody
just
who's
reference
watching this right now, you can look it up yourselves.
Just
Oh, fuck. This is cursed
reference
binding.
the job numbers first. The vast majority of the jobs that have been created were jobs that were lost during COVID through disastrous policies, which I'll agree some Republicans and Trump went along with, but certainly were championed more by the Democrats. They're now taking credit for jobs that they let people go back to work. Second, full-time jobs are down tremendously, and many of
I don't know what the full-time jobs thing. Can I not just build a regular? How do I just build a regular chest? Okay, that's annoying. But I think Hutch even mentioned in his saying he's accounting for the jobs that were lost and then brought back from COVID. Like, even accounting for that, Biden still has more jobs added.
these are part-time jobs because due to the Harris-Biden economy, people have to work multiple part-time jobs now to be able to do things. Third,
How Rob Noor has to know that that's just like that the data just doesn't show that. I don't understand how he doesn't know that by now. Do none of the liberals on this panel know it either, and they just let him spew that? I don't. When I was younger, I was forced to work 2 part-time jobs because no one hires young people full time. I mean, that makes sense.
net
Yeah.
number of jobs from
the real evil take. The real evil take is maybe it's not even bad. maybe it's not even bad if everyone's working 2 part-time jobs. That's the real evil take. That's just a market. That's just a market allocating labor efficiently. Come on, guys. What are we, anti-free market now?
citizens of this country or people born in this country have declined precipitously. Most of those jobs are going to people that were foreign-born, and so that.
It's such a dumb talking point. Most of the jobs are going to people who are foreign-born. Ay, ay, ay. One, that's because the native-born population isn't increasing. It's staying relatively flat. That's why job rates for the native-born population are also basically staying flat. the big reason why the population isn't the workforce isn't increasing in size is because one, birth rates have just been slow. Two, like millions and millions of boomers retired during COVID. So immigrants were the ones who picked up the slack. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that when boomers retired, immigrants were able to take their jobs. That saved our fucking economy. Yes. Thank you, Ron. Kamala has 3 jobs. She's vice president, presidential candidate, and borders are. Oh, true. Yeah, the working age and over population is not growing. Primarily, the birth rates, the working age foreign-born population is growing. When we look at employment rates for working age people in the U.S. natives do better and are at record levels. Like, yeah. Like, the prime age employment population ratio is at record highs. Like, it's at like a 40-year high, and it's higher than foreign-borns. So, you know, he has to know. There's no shot. No one has ever told him that before, though, right? I guess maybe not, but
that means
really?
Most of those people would be ineligible to vote. That means when you're considering voting, knowing this, you and all the people you know that are eligible to vote are actually losing jobs. Fourth, jobs are...
They're not. No, they're not, though. The prime age employment population is at all-time high.
hardly important if real wages are going down, which real wages have been going down.
Real wages haven't, at least not for the bottom 10% of workers, they haven't been going down. On the aggregate, they're still going up. They're going up kind of slowly now because of high interest rates. But yeah, they're still going up. And I think real median net worth is slightly up from 2019, although not that big, obviously because of COVID. Real median net worth 2019 to 2024. I think it's high, but
Precipitously under the
Rob Norris, the chief architect of Project 2025.
Harris Biden administration. Now, to talk about some of the other things that were said here specifically, when it comes to sort of housing, let me ask you this question, Pisco. The same people that promised they were going to buy
Yeah, it's up a little. Oh, this is 2022. What was it in 2019? I think a real median net worth is up since 2019, but like, yeah, obviously the COVID recession did have negative effects on, and the inflation, the subsequent inflation from the COVID recession, obviously did have negative effects on some people's net worth, obviously, and real income.
Millions and millions or thousands of electrical vehicle stations, and we're spending hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars doing that. How many did they end up building?
I'm not sure about that. I don't know how to.
Okay, another question. They also said, three.
They built
okay.
7.
They also spent,
who's the same people? What do you mean by the same people?
The Harris Biden administration and the people that are actually running the show. Secondly, let me ask you another question. When those same people also promised that they were going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars for rural broadband, how many rural broadband people have been connected under that policy that spent hundreds of millions of dollars?
I don't know offhand. I don't know.
The answer is 0. The answer is
maybe he's right about rural broadband, but I know NC, because I live in North Carolina. I know in North Carolina, at least, a lot of people got connected to fiber optic in rural places because of the big infrastructure bill.
So what
there's
Andrew...
a lot of appropriations. Are you denying the appropriations were put towards public ends under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, or that there were great investments made under the Inflation Reduction Act? Are you denying
I think that's deflecting what the central question here. The point that...
I don't know if there's like a map I can see like since the bill was passed, but oh my god, my Wi-Fi utterly shit itself. Why? I'll call them tomorrow, guys. This is not. What on earth? Why? I don't get it. Oh, why?
question here. The point that Andrew's trying to get to is it's easy to promise, oh, we're going to spend money that we're just going to create out of thin air to build a product that will benefit people. But the problem is that ends up causing inflation, which we can see is already the core problem.
What?
Of the Harris-Biden administration. And
It's the first time creating money out of thin air creates inflation. That's the first time I'm hearing about this, even though the government itself can't directly even create the money out of thin air. I don't understand. Like, I understand indirectly, you know, this deficit spending can kind of create money because, like, the Fed can finance the deficit spending with through indirectly buying bonds. But, like, I don't even think Rob Noor understands how the Fed indirectly finances the buying of government bonds. I think he just thinks that deficit spending actually prints money.
Second, they rarely
and brings down housing prices, Rob. Remember that.
How is bringing down housing prices causing inflation?
I would like to continue my point. And secondly, they rarely deliver on the promises that they've given anyway. So we end up with massive inflation and the promises that they delivered not coming through. Now, to the more central point, again, you can see from the opening statements from people like IRI that were shouting racism, talking about the cat story and things like that. Then you see from Pisco talking about threat to democracy January 6th, exactly as I said would happen in my opening statement. They know that despite the gaslighting that they've done, including decrying people that correctly called out the cognitive decline of Joe Biden. The American people do not believe the Harris-Biden administration when it comes to the important things such as the economy, such as immigration. And so they know that they have to deflect from talking about those things at any means possible. I'm sorry, the American people are not assuaged of their fears that Kamala's been there for 3.5 years and their real wages have gone down and they can't afford food.
Let me see. I don't know if I have an update to this graph.
And they can't afford housing, and their border is porous, and their cities are being overrun with people that are breaking the law and taking their resources. And this administration has done nothing but exacerbate that. But it's all solved because she had 20 seconds of policy positions when she said, we're going to give people free money and create house.
I don't know if this has gone up significantly since... oh, no, it has. It's basically stayed mostly on track, actually.
We do need to get to other people. Rob, you've done a lot of stuff.
Years they've failed to
I mean,
do.
this is a shell game. This is a shell
I
game
think
what they're
this
doing.
was written 2 years ago by now.
I do want to throw
but-
IRI because he hasn't really said much. And I want to
Andrew
make
asked
sure
for a
he gets chance.
specific policy. That's why we're
Yes,
focusing on
Pisco,
it.
be
I'm
respectful.
following-
Also, another big thing, this graph, like, you can see, like, this big spike here. That's because a lot of low-wage workers were laid off. And that made it look like average wages across people who were employed were rising because all the low-wage workers were laid off. And then once they were rehired, it went down. So, like, it's, yeah. Like, all this shows, I think this was 2022, though, or no, this was last year. They were rising, but it was below trend.
Come on, what's
So,
wrong
I
with
said
you?
after.
I could go
I said
first,
after
yep.
Pisco, Andrew.
So Andrew asked for a specific policy
I like how you call him
Let's see if we can
talk
find
about,
this.
and I offered one, and we were focusing on housing because that's where Andrew was taking the conversation. He wanted to get into the substance of the topics, and now Rob is decrying us and calling foul because we're focusing on that instead of Biden's cognitive decline. And
Yeah, that
similarly,
literally never
you
happened.
cannot win. Andrew is decrying the fact that we're lowering housing prices, and Rob's talking about inflation and worrying about prices going
Yeah,
up.
both are true at the same time. So in
Yeah,
areas
well-
where the low-income people
well,
come in, it's going to
well,
lower the
yeah,
value of the houses around, and it's also going to cause
Yeah,
inflation.
what I'm going to say. So yeah, I'm going to just finish what I'm going to say. So it sounds like these are a couple no-win scenarios. On the one hand, you know, we want to talk about politics.
Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, 3-month move. This is 3-month, whereas year-over-year.
Policy because that's what Andrew wanted us to get into. But obviously, Rob wants to talk about
But
underlying.
yeah, you can see even here, this is high. So wage growth is like an average of like 3% per month or per 3-month period, right? 3-month moving average. Yeah, so it averaged like 3 to 4% under Trump. And then now I guess we should move it back a little bit to for his full term. But yeah, no, so it was like 3%, and then this was the big spike because of all the low wage workers that were fired, right? And then oh no, wait, this is well, actually I don't know if they include people who aren't in the labor force here. Comrade, okay. I would have to know more about it.
Deceit, and you can't trust administrations.
I don't know. I don't know if this would track someone who was employed and then got unemployed, and their wage growth would be like negative 100%, or if it only tracks people who remained employed. I don't, because if it did the former, then we would expect to see that spike as, or we wouldn't expect to see the spike as low wage people were laid off. But if it did the latter, then obviously we would expect to see a big spike as low wage people were laid off.
So pick what you want to talk about, and we can go.
We can talk about all of it, Pisco. It's not a one. It's not a one or the other. It's not a bifurcation. We can talk about all of it. All of it's a package deal. So if you have low-income people coming into the suburban neighborhoods, it's going to necessarily lower the housing prices, which are in that area. Guarantee it happens nonstop. Okay, that is where you get the phenomenon called white flight. That's why that happens. Also, on top of that, it is going to increase inflation when you artificially increase the supply by 3 million homes. Pisco, both are true at the same time. Pisco.
He keeps also saying artificially increase supply by 3 million homes. But really, the supply is artificially low right now because of restrictive zoning laws. Like, we're not artificially increasing the supply. What we're really doing is, really most of Harris's policy is focused on fixing those zoning laws which restrict the building of new homes. That's what the majority of the Biden-Harris administration's policy is focused on. That's why we've seen all the YIMBYs be super happy that all the Democrats are embracing like openly YIMBY language. Like,
increasing housing supply is going to increase inflation. Help me there.
What's crazy? What's crazy?
I want to wait. I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, where does the money come from? Pisco?
I'm throwing it over to IRI.
it's not even. I think it's a part of her plan is giving tax incentives to build affordable homes, but also again a lot of it doesn't even require money. You just need to make states fix their zoning laws, and then new homes will be built by private companies because you're letting the market do what the market does, which is respond to demand.
So does the government spend the money? Pisco?
Going over to IRI.
Yeah.
Wait,
First,
there was a question to Pisco, so now
can't
Pisco
believe-
has to respond because you asked a question. So Pisco.
Yeah, so I understand that government expenditures can be inflationary in nature.
No kidding.
Let him
But
finish.
hang on.
Wow. good one, Andrew.
If you're going to make a positive claim that there's a strong relationship or a good relation, whatever you want to say, between the policy proposed by Harris, and you have to make it. You know, like Trump's policy of tariffs, a 10% tariff across the board is also in principle inflationary. But don't you have to make a case? Don't you have to make a showing that it's going to noticeably?
God, also mention the Fed. Please mention the Fed. Please. It is absolutely unacceptable that Trump can say, Trump himself, this isn't like Project 2025 voodoo things. Trump himself said, I think the president should have a say in interest rate decisions. It is insane to me that he can mention that, and just because voters are dumb and they don't know what that means, he's not held to account for it. God, that should be drilled down on hard, because even if you trust Trump to make the best interest rate decisions possible forever, even if you think that Trump is the all-knowing God when it comes to knowing what the interest rate should be, you would have to Trump only gets one more term, right? Like, there's going to be another Democratic president at some point who you're not going to like, who then is going to be making those interest rate decisions. So you should probably factor that in, right? Oh my God,
than the,
unbelievable.
Any kind of countering effects that other kinds.
Well,
of
I mean,
policies.
that was a nice whataboutism, Pisco. Doesn't answer my question.
Or increases in taxes. I'm not sure that it's going to noticeably increase inflation. I'm not sure about that. That's your case you have to make.
IRI.
Well, Pisco, can we start?
IRI. I'm sorry. I'm throwing it over to IRI. He hasn't spoken.
Sorry.
He hasn't spoken at all.
I have to say, Andrew, my feelings are hurt for you to call me a liberal scumbag. I thought we were cool. I still love you, but that's okay. That being
Nice to
said,
see you again, IRI. How are you?
I'm good.
I noticed your anti-Semitic remarks you made towards Laura Loomer. That wasn't very nice, IRI.
What?
Well, I'm Jewish, so it's kind of hard for me to be anti-Semitic, but okay.
And his idea to his family, you know?
But I'm happy
What are we on
for your
about?
success. You've been doing great, so I'm happy for you. As far as the the jobs go, there are 5 million more jobs in America today than February 2020 before the pandemic. And you guys said these are because people have 3 jobs. But the thing is, we've had a record unemployment rate. It's been below 4%.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you, IRI. Oh my God, thank God.
A record stretch we haven't seen since the 60s. We hit record unemployment 3.4%, below even what Trump accomplished. So I feel like a lot more people in this country are employed, and this isn't the case that
And the primates population employment ratio, all-time highs. Correct.
you guys
Thank you.
portray. Everybody's
Yes.
got a part-time job.
Everybody does have a part-time job, but I this was
5%.
crazy.
It's 5% of the workforce.
That's wrong. Everybody's got a part-time gig,
not.
a side gig,
5%
a
of the
side
workforce.
hustle. Yeah, I don't believe your numbers.
Yeah,
even
thanks
if
for
you
the
show
hearts
it to
in
me.
YouTube
I
short
know-
chat. Sometimes, or the 100. Sometimes I I have no way of seeing those unless I have the YouTube thing open. It's such a dumb feature, but
too many people in my everyday life, even if it's anecdotal, you can just go ask anybody. Everybody's got to do 2 things.
Why do you not
Everybody
believe
has
the
to.
numbers?
Because
Why
you
am
can
I
go.
the
You
moderator?
can go ask
Jeez.
10 random people at 8.
which am I gonna trust more, Admiral Gibbs? Am I gonna trust 10 random people, or am I gonna trust the Federal Reserve when they conduct studies on this? I wonder which one, Admiral Gibbs. I should DM Admiral Gibbs is not out of reach for me. I should DM him. I should see if he's up for a conversation about this stuff.
HEB or Walmart or wherever, and they all will tell you they're doing 2 things. And there's no way
It's
that this
called
sample size.
anecdotal, dude.
Sure, it's
This is what they
anecdotal,
do
but when
when
it's
Democrats are
every
in charge.
time,
They
every
accuse
time,
Democrats of
you know,
cooking the books
listen,
every single
we've
time.
already caught you cooking the books on the job numbers. Why would I believe you with this 5% bullshit?
You understand?
I mean,
You understand
it's
the
clear
numbers
that
Cooking the book. God, people who don't like the issue is, like my Twitter feed is like full of like whenever like the new jobs numbers or like GDP numbers or inflation numbers come out, like I get that news. So it's just so normal for me to see like, oh, we got the new job numbers for August, and also the job numbers from July have been revised down slightly. Like that's just such a normal like thing for me, and it's hard to, I don't know how to express that to other people because it's like it's just normal people are gonna think like, yeah, they're lying, they're cooking the books, but like it's just like what happened. It's just a normal thing. This is just how it works. Like yes, they revise it down when they get more accurate data. Like
y'all are lying. Y'all lied about Biden. Y'all lied about Biden. Y'all every time y'all say Kamala's got a policy, half the time it's just Trump's policies. Listen, it sounds like you got 2 halves of nothing. And what basically that equals out to is a whole lot of nothing. And y'all are sitting here just trying to pass off vagaries and nebulous policy and buzzwords like opportunity economy and say we're going to fix it. Well, you know, Trump asked a valiant question. Hey, 3.5 years, y'all ain't done shit. It's only got worse. Why hasn't it been fixed since then? And nobody's been able to answer that here. Y'all just keep saying, oh.
Does anybody want to answer that question?
Hey, I would like to ask, what is your guys' solution for the housing crisis? Because I know
Well,
what Trump's
before
offering.
you
It
skip
doesn't sound
over
like
to the
anything.
what about, can you answer his question?
Why haven't you fixed everything in the last 4
You gotta
years?
run.
Is that the question? Yeah,
No,
so we
his
had-
his question
First time we didn't have a transition with the previous administration. Donald Trump took a giant dump on the floor and set everything up for disaster. So they had to do a little bit of cleanup work the last couple
That is Trump's fault.
Wait,
hang on.
let him finish. You
Democrats
gotta
have been in control of the
wait.
presidency for 12 of the
Gibbs got
last
to
15
finish.
years.
IRI gets to finish.
Let me finish. The whole world has been suffering through economic problems. This is not an American-centric
Bro.
thing. So we've done pretty well compared to the rest of the world.
correct. We've done the best. Get fucked.
We
You're
sure
our
have.
cucked
And
poor
what's
countries.
more,
Or best out of the rich countries. I don't. Maybe fucking Ghana has a higher GDP growth or something, but
2
That's-
years. We've only had
that's
Congress
oil.
for 2 years, and those 2 years, there was a ton of bipartisan legislation passed. The CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act, the other kind of weird gun legislation that was bipartisan in nature.
Y'all have had the
We had-
presidency for 12 of the last 16 years, Pisco. Like, what do you mean? Like, y'all have had the
Understand-
leader of the
I
free
don't know
world,
why-
and it's been
why-
this dog shit
why does
for
this
like
need to-
all the whole time.
Why does it need to turn into a civics lesson? You understand that Congress is the one that
We're
passes
gonna do a civics
major
lesson. Okay, do
legislation,
you know what
right?
executive orders are? Like, yeah, I mean, you act like they don't have any control.
Hang on. When we
I mean, Biden did a fair number of executive orders. So did Trump. Like,
try to do
One at a time. Wait, we'll let Pisco finish.
when we try to do major executive action, for example, and you might not agree with the underlying policy, but Biden made a promise with student loan, and you might say that that's stupid or whatever. But when
absolutely criminally immune from it. So
the administration tries to do stuff. Who are the first people suing? It's Republican governors, Republican individuals. They're trying to stop as much as they can the administrative
Great, Pisco. They don't put anything on Trump's feet if it's all due to Congress, Pisco. If it's all Congress, then don't put it on Trump's feet.
In fact, that's not to say the president doesn't have a lot.
You know what's funny is that Pisco actually never said that it was all Congress. That's really funny, Andrew. He actually, if that was something he said, it would have been a gotcha. But yeah, doesn't it kind of say something that Trump did have Congress for 2 years and he still did not get much passed?
A lot of power they do.
No, now he has a lot of power. 10 seconds ago, he's barely anything to do with anything. Now suddenly he has a lot of power.
Is that what Pisco's position was?
I just found a source saying that 54% of Americans are doing side jobs now.
Let's let Pisco.
54? There is no shot 54% of Americans are doing side jobs. That has to be one. You would want to measure that as a percentage of the labor force, not just Americans, because there's a lot of Americans who aren't in the labor force. Students, children, retired people, disabled people. That's why the unemployment numbers only factor in people who are in the labor force. But there's no shot even 54% of the labor force is taking second jobs. That's gotta be some absolute bullshit survey. What's up, Angel? Welcome back. There's no shot. I'm gonna DM Admiral Gibbs after this. I'm not to epically debate him or anything. I'm just curious. We can have a fun conversation.
They're just lying.
In terms of the economy, the presidency can obviously, I guess, in terms of chain of command, you have the Federal Reserve there, which has a lot of influence on prices, that kind of thing. But in terms of direct appropriations,
another 3 more assassination attempts coming. I bet 3 more in the next there's less than 60 days before the election, right? I don't know if we're gonna get that many, but we'll see.
Kind of major legislation, tax changes, that's all coming through Congress. The
also,
president
has
some role in what they can do with the administrative state, but that's all things that you guys don't agree with.
Man, are you tired from backpedaling, Pisco?
And there's no backpedaling whatsoever.
Total backpedal. 10 seconds ago. The president has almost no power.
You got skates on ice, Papa. That's what you're doing.
You guys are asking. You guys are asking, for example, why haven't they done the housing thing in the 4 years? They haven't had Congress.
Okay,
I know there's a lot.
Rob, I know you've been waiting. Rob,
It's absurd.
So I don't understand. Again, I will do this at some point. I'm gonna go back and try to find if when Obama was running for a second term or when Clinton was running for a second term, if anyone brought up this why haven't you done it yet thing. I can't campaign on a continuation of my policy and also not being the other guy. I have to campaign on some new novel policy. I can't campaign on I can't just campaign on a continuation of the policy I've already done. Really?
Rob, guys, please, one second. I know, Rob, you want to talk, but Turk has been waiting, and Joe has been waiting very patiently. I have you after them. I just wanted to make sure I checked with them. Turk, were you still waiting, or has the moment passed?
I can still bring it back to the topic that you brought up, Dylan, if you'd like me to do that.
Could I do Joe first, because it might be relevant?
But she is. But actually, some of her messaging, I will say, is a candidate change or whatever. But most of her policy is just a continuation of Biden's policy, and people get mad at her for that. People is her policy is just Biden's policy. Ooh, they copied Biden's policy. It's well, yeah, she's Biden's vice president. She's running on just continuing a lot of his policy. That kind of makes sense.
Relevant?
Sure. Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Pisco, for having to push at you too. A little frustration that I do have with the Biden-Harris administration, and then by extension, the Harris administration. And Rob brought this out a little bit in his argumentation, is that there are still issues within underserved communities that haven't been actualized and promised. And something that I wish was clearly articulated in the Harris administration would be something like, to get very sort of specific, we saw in New Jersey about a drop in monthly revenue from hospitals across the board, anywhere from 30 to 40%. And that's a little bit higher in more underserved areas like Camden and Newark.
It's an active decision not to talk about it. I understand the not wanting to be associated with Biden stuff. I think it's dumb because I think most of Biden's policy was good. But I don't know. I when did she say the Bidenomics is working thing? Did she say that before her candidacy? I feel like she said that after her candidacy as well, but I don't remember.
something that my the person that I voted for the Senate, Larry Ham, was advocating for was an expansion of the infrastructure bill to cover things like emergency centers and hospitals, which is something that currently doesn't exist in the infrastructure bill as currently. So that's a frustration that I have with the Harris administration. And if we want to get really specific in the ideas of
Biden administration, you mean?
In the what did I say? What's
Harris administration?
In the Biden administration. Oh, look at that slip.
Yeah, it's really difficult to differentiate the two nowadays, isn't it?
I mean, that's not
considered he's on the beach every day, you know.
That's not here or there in the misspeak, but my concern there.
Why bonk him? Who bonk what? What do you mean bonk him?
Is that there are things that could help, and I think it is legitimate to question the 3 million houses plan.
If I may jump in, because I do have something to add on this specific point. So to the points that were addressed here.
Can I finish my house thing and then I'll end up playing of golf to you, Rob? Is that all right? Or yeah. So like the thing is, like we saw, for example, like in the housing crisis, right? For black households, about 8% of black households were lost during that from 2008. Something that I think could have been really cool to hear and see is an acknowledgement from whether it be the Biden administration or the Harris campaign articulating that, because something that would be cool to have coupled along with that is in those sort of first buyer initiatives and stuff like that to include individuals who lost their home during those foreclosures for people with subprime mortgages. That I think would be a very easy rhetorical thing that could move a lot of people in the center. A lot of people in the center probably were affected by that statistically, which obviously would have an impact for black voters in particular, but also to all voters who were affected by that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna let Rob. I have a response.
Wow, there's nothing up here. Not worth it at all.
I'm gonna let Rob talk.
Oh shoot! I screwed stuff up. Okay, to respond to this first, I want to go where I'll get to right to what Joe said there, sort of in the spirit of it. But notice how in all of this talk about jobs, I could talk about the specific job numbers. Yes, unemployment numbers look like they're doing okay. That's because it doesn't count people that are no longer trying to get work.
I mean, he's at least he knows that much, I guess. At least he knows a little bit about that. Yeah, but he's correct. It doesn't count discouraged workers, but also if we look at the U6 unemployment rate, which does include discouraged workers as well as people who are working part-time but want a full-time job, it is also relatively low. So this is U3 down here, and this is U6 up on top. It was 7% prior to the COVID recession, and it is 7.9% now. But also, just like ceteris paribus, the unemployment rate is still like a metric that we should want to be low. So
labor force participation is still lower than it was in pre-pandemic levels. What happened?
That's true, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like boomers were able to retire early. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
And was a lot of people got so frustrated after the lockdowns and things like that they never tried to go back to work. In addition to increased welfare benefits and PPP loans and other stimulus checks that we're sending them, many people never went back to work.
What do I mean? What do you mean? It's a fucking bad thing that boomers were able to retire? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. No, if they want to retire, then good for them. They're able to retire. Labor supply and output goes down. Oh, well, that's true. But we actually have the immigration surge made up for that. But I don't know. It's good for them. It's not like they should work till they die. True. It's not. Well, I should have said what I should have said is it's not all bad. Which I mean, yeah, it's not like necessarily all super bad. But yeah, I mean, real GDP is still growing pretty quickly, so clearly their labor supply was not necessary. No offense, boomers, but clearly the boomers that retired were not doing too much when our real GDP is still growing, so quicker than any other G7 nation. Yeah.
So unemployment numbers look way better than they actually are. The real unemployment number is probably around 7%, and none of that matters.
The real it's such a dumb phrase. The real unemployment numbers. Like we track different metrics of unemployment. There is no real unemployment number. There are just different ways to measure unemployment, all of which tell you different things.
anyways. The fact that you have to work multiple jobs and we count each of those multiple jobs as a job, but people
again, the percentage of people working multiple jobs as a percentage of the workforce is not that high. It's at like 5%, which is basically where it usually is.
Still, real wage growth is barely.
It would grow more if they didn't retire. No, probably not by that much. But like, I mean, even retirees. I mean, it like. I would say considering how real GDP was able to grow so much, still the benefits to the boomers who are able to retire and just live their life, and I mean, they still spend, they still contribute indirectly to jobs through spending. Say the benefits to the millions of boomers who are retired probably outweigh the cost of the decrease in the labor force, considering our real GDP was able to grow so much higher anyway. But
moving the needle since the Harris-Biden administration, where under Trump it was going up by leaps and bounds. So people know, and that's why all the polling shows that people feel they were economically better under the Trump administration than under the Harris-Biden administration, which is why what I said, which Pisco deflected from, was no one wants to talk about that. Instead, you'll talk about one random policy. Oh, they're going to spend money and build houses, that's it. And the rest of it will be, as you've seen IRI try to do here, make excuses that in the first term, congressional term, when Harris and Biden were there, where they controlled the House.
I was just saying, like, actually, I don't know. I wonder if retired people probably do actually spend more than prime age people, I would guess. Why not just turn them into Soylent Green? True.
And had the tiebreaker in the Senate. They didn't do any of this shit.
Although it's probably better overall to have retired people spend more than working people. Yeah, do spend more than producing. Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's not all bad. It's my point. There are trade-offs, wildly. Number of retirees experiencing sharp decrease in spending and an increase in savings after retirement. Oh, damn.
And what's IRI's response to that? Well, that's because Trump didn't have a peaceful transition of power. Exactly. What they're trying to do is cover for Harris, which is why she's not out there talking to the American people, talking to adversarial press. She's hiding, just like Biden hid, because they can't defend their record. And to the extent that they're trying to come up with policies, most of it's just cribbing things Republicans and Trump have said, to the point where even Joe Lewis
only 25% of them decrease spending.
Correctly points out he's frustrated as a lefty that Harris is actually on stage talking about how she supports gun rights. They always become more Republican because they understand that their policies will not get them elected, which is why Bernie Sanders said the other day, oh, in reality, what's going on is Harris has to say what she needs to say to get elected. Exactly. That's how bad she is. She's a chameleon.
I mean, unfortunately, that's kind of how elections work. It's not necessarily a bad thing that candidates have to moderate in order to get into higher positions, because that means they reflect a larger voter base, right? That means their positions reflect how a larger percentage of Americans feel. I don't know. I gotta understand the frustration with whatever flip-flopping though, but.
It's ran by people behind her. She's not really doing anything. So the question I have for Pisco, to pivot off what Joe's saying, is, one, when Harris was there and was basically running the show because Biden had dementia, which you and all of the Democrats covered up for because you're liars that don't care about democracy, why didn't she do any of these policies, like create massive amounts of houses? Why did the policies that they pushed through?
They did, though. They didn't build 3 million new homes, but I do have a list of some of the actions they took to increase housing supply that we can look at.
Inflation. Why did they lie to people over and over again? And
well, I can tell you why they did a stimulus bill, but here's a list of actions they took. The Biden administration took to increase housing supply. All of these things.
And say, actually, the economy is great when people were struggling miserably. And even if they couldn't have got it done through Congress in the past 2 years, I disagree with that, because they basically got everything they wanted in the Inflation Reduction Act, which was basically Green New Deal light, as Joe Biden admitted the other day. And lastly, they tried to push through shit in congressional or executive orders that they knew would be overturned, like the bailouts of student loans. So why didn't they try executive orders to build housing and to reduce inflation? The truth is because they did.
They did. I don't know if these were executive orders, but these were actions taken within the executive branch. Like the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is part of the executive branch, is announcing the availability of $100 million to communities to identify and remove barriers to affordable housing production and preservation. The Department of Treasury and HUD are announcing major improvements in the federal financing bank multifamily risk sharing program that will provide greater interest rate predictability for state and local housing finance agencies. Like, those were 2 out of 6 actions, I think it was 6, that they took within the executive branch to increase the supply of housing.
Didn't give a shit, just like they lie to, maybe you'll appreciate this, Joe, black Americans every election year. For 2 years, they don't give a shit about black Americans until it's an election year, and then all of a sudden they pretend to give a shit. They don't care about people in rural America, and then all of a sudden they pretend to give a shit. Why didn't they do these amazing things? None of you have...
The Infrastructure Act, by the way, disproportionately, disproportionately benefited red states, which are going to be disproportionately rural. I don't know if it, but it did a lot of things too. You know why you were timed out. Shut the fuck up. It did a lot of things to help people in rural areas. Like, for example, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, in North Carolina, they spent a lot of money giving people access to fiber optic in rural areas.
Have an answer. The Democrats were in charge.
If you don't know, then you deserve to be banned and not just timed out.
Harris was in charge, and she didn't do shit.
So it's a nice question, Rob.
Okay, that was an extensive question, and I don't just want to throw it to Pisco because I want to throw it to other people too. But one moment, I do also want to say, if you want to ask questions to anybody on the panel or the panel itself, donate your questions.
Give me a super chat,
and the highest ones will get read. We're shilling here.
I understand that to BPS chat. His chat crazy. Thinking about the donate and say some crazy questions.
It's an interesting...
Guys, know if you super chat to me, you can make Peter Griffin fart on my face. Or not, that's not a super chat. You can't super chat to me. You can donate to me. With your Twitch bits, you can make Peter Griffin fart on my face. Or he'll fart somewhere. I forget where he farts, honestly. But
point to me that you guys
what up, Conrad's Peterberg? Welcome back.
Policy when it came to the debate. What policies did Trump articulate during that debate besides...
Wait, are you surprised?
Let's let Ira finish. Rob went for a bit. I want to hear an extended response.
Why are we doing whataboutism?
Answer to his question. Cavalcade of nonsense.
If you want to answer the question,
he asked how much do we have to donate for you to eat the pet's patients? I think maybe I really need a teleprompter, which is like $250. So maybe we'll say $250. I'll do it.
Question, can you answer to it?
We're talking about eating pets here, and I'm a vegetarian, so pretty high bar. So
passed. Biden got way more legislation passed during his first 2 years than Trump did. The very first thing that Trump tried to do when he was president was repeal and replace the Obamacare. He failed.
And he never did it.
The next thing he did was the tax cuts that the Republicans had been clamoring to do for decades. And then what did he get done after that? What were his major signature pieces of legislation? You really want to compare the legislative...
He had to shut down the government to get his border wall funding.
Record between Biden and Trump?
Yeah, give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds. I'll answer this.
All right, let's see, Rob Noor.
Kamala Harris is running on as being an agent of change. What you can't get around is the American people know that economically and security-wise, they were better off under a Trump administration than a Harris administration. So what's happening is the Harris administration is trying to run on, we're the agents of change. Things will be different. To why I say then why, if she's been there in charge for 4 years, haven't they done any of these things? You didn't respond. Let me finish. You respond with, but they actually got a lot of shit done. They actually got to do a lot of what they wanted. Exactly. And the American people are not happy with it. So then your counter argument, which is, well, they couldn't get things done that they wanted done, but this time they will, is bullshit, as you're admitting. They did get a ton legislatively done, and America has given it the thumbs down.
Hey, hang on a second.
Wait, this has mending and cursor binding. It's never gonna fucking break.
Why did we have a historically good midterm? Why did we expand our majority in the Senate during an economic downturn? Why did we make Trump a one-term president, the first since George H.W. Bush? If your leadership,
because of abortion,
and your policies were so
social issue, it's because of social issues. It has nothing to do with the economy, which has been a fucking disaster.
Why is Andrew's mic so
broken? Should have been a bloodbath.
No.
What you guys are saying is that your policies are not popular.
No, people knew that Trump's economy got shut down. They knew it, that it got shut down when they were thriving.
Because of a pandemic.
Andrew, quick thing, your mic keeps peaking when you talk. It peaks and it's kind of hard to hear you. I'm just letting you know. Pisco, you wanted to go?
Yeah. I want to answer to Rob's cavalcade of nonsense earlier, and so he started off by saying, and can we have quiet in the peanut gallery, Andrea? Like, I don't know why you feel the need every 2 seconds. I think.
What's up, Ricky? Welcome back. Someone please tell him what a vice president doesn't do. I don't know. It's such a dumb point. I like the steel man of this point is that most of her policy is similar to Biden's, but she seems to be running as an agent of change and not just as a continuation of Biden's policies. But they're doing a really they won't even. I think only Rob Noor made basically the steel man of that argument.
Like you're scared of when I talk because you only interrupt me. I mean, is it going to be a problem?
You were talking, dummy.
All right. So first of all, he starts by the assumption that we are not okay with speaking about the general economic policy of Harris and Biden, respectively, in terms of what their administration has done. We absolutely are willing to talk about it. We were specifically talking about one policy because that's what Andrew asked us. He asked us to talk about one policy, but you think that we're dodging something. We're dodging the general economic character of what's been going on. We do not shy away from the fact that over the course of the last 4 years,
economy?
I haven't mentioned the word opportunity economy at all.
Well, we're talking about the debate, right?
Have you heard me?
I mean,
No, we're talking about the leadership
economy?
of the country. We're talking about the leadership of this country.
we are.
Who's better positioned to do it, and based on the previous administration,
We've
right?
moved on. We've moved
Well,
on.
I want to hear the end of Pisco's statement, and then you can talk. Also, Turk, I have you written down. Eventually, I will bring it back to you.
So he asked, why haven't he done all these things in 4 years? It's an absolutely sound answer that IRI gave that, first of all, we were cleaning up a mess. We were in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and it was a crisis. The first thing that the Biden administration did was pass a Recovery Act. You could say it's inflationary, but you look at economic analysis after the fact, they don't attribute it, the inflationary effect of that policy or other policies to those specific pieces of legislation. In fact, it's a global inflation crisis that is facing the entire world. And as IRI or Hutch, I think, pointed out, America, relatively speaking, has recovered better than the other G7 countries, better than the other advanced economies. We got a shit ton of legislation passed that specifically relates to the economy, whether that's the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, which will absolutely benefit the economy in the future, and other pieces of legislation. I'm willing to fight and defend this administration for what it stood for and what it got done. You point to the fact that there are bad polls. Trump had bad polls in his term. If we just look to polls to determine, or the general trend of the economy and this kind of correlation equals causation analysis, I mean, that would be a great way to defend like the policies of George Bush right before the Great Recession, right? You have to look more than just how the economy generally was doing or what people think about it generally, and look to the policies themselves and what the likely effects of them.
Yeah, I think
what we're trying to say.
And as to the line point about,
is there any more time we can give you, Pisco?
The last point I'll make.
Then we had Gibbs wanted to
To
respond.
be fair,
No
Rob Noor did like spit out like 20 points. So
thinks that Kamala Harris was in charge of the administration for the past 3 or 4 years. That's pure fantasy. If you read any of the reports of the insiders of who's operating things behind the scenes, or whether Joe Biden was in charge in the first few years, no one is saying that Kamala Harris is running the show.
If I may, real quick, just to respond to that point, real quick.
Gibbs, do you care if they take from you?
God.
It was you were next. It was your back.
I mean, Rob, if it's quick, I want to get in here, Rob. But
Harris herself has said of many of these issues, she was the last person in the room. And my statement is, Harris is just like Biden is an empty suit that people behind the scenes will be running. The same people behind the scenes running the Biden economy or administration will be running hers. So the same people that will be in charge under Harris will be in charge there. The American people have rejected, and the data shows that economic data is abysmal.
Not only that,
you can lie all you want, but that's the truth.
But people are going right now. Hang on, real quick, IRI, and then I'll turn it right over. But right now, people are experiencing high gas prices, high grocery prices.
Gas prices have come down. Grocery prices, I think we actually did see grocery price deflation recently. Grocery prices are not only like not climbing anymore, but I'm pretty sure they have actually come down.
Their day-to-day living, right, expenses have shot through the roof, and you're moving into this election promising them, well, in the future it'll be better, when under Trump it already was better. So it's easy for people when they're moving into the voting booth in order for Republicans.
I think we actually did see deflation the past couple of months. Oh, this is indexed. Edit graph. Percent change. Okay, negative in April, slightly negative in May, and then it's basically been 0.
Republicans to point this out, and that's what people are talking about. That's what all the buzz is.
Yeah, I mean, I want to jump in.
I know you want to jump in, Gibbs, but we had two righties. We have to have a lefty respond, and then I'll throw it back to you, Gibbs. I'm sorry, but there has to be a balance.
I just want to ask my conservative panel people, like, if everything that you're saying right now, that Biden's presidency has just been this disaster for everybody, why isn't he up 10 points right now?
Gibbs, you want to respond to that?
He was dominating against Biden, like, you know, and part of what Kamala is doing.
He's not now. Why isn't he being
going against Kamala now, right?
Everybody's miserable, right?
Because she's not Biden. I mean, here's the thing: the Republicans and a lot of like average people are looking at this as the age-old expression: a bird in hand is better than two in the bush, right? They know what they got with Trump. They don't know what they're getting with Kamala. It's a whole lot of nothing. You know, we know y'all been lying to us the whole time. The jobs report, it was lying. You literally just lied on this panel and said only 5% of people have side jobs. According to Market Watch, as of April 16th.
Okay, set a source. Market Watch, 54% second job. One survey found that 54% of working Americans report taking on at least one opportunity for extra income in the past 12 months. Does that mean, am I taking on an opportunity for extra income right now because I'm fucking streaming and I get 30 cents for doing that? What does that mean? I sell shit on eBay. Is that opportunity for extra income? Is this even a significant increase from years past? Among people who say they live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, we're citing the same type of surveys that they do for their paycheck to paycheck stuff. Like, I'm sorry, buddy. If my choices are between the Federal Reserve and if it's between like a large academic study from the Federal Reserve or like an online survey used to drive media headlines, I'm probably gonna side with the Federal Reserve on this one, buddy. Maybe I'm an establishment cuck, okay? But I'm probably going to think that they have the more accurate and more meaningful data there.
54% of people have side gigs. That's a lot more than 5%, Papa. I'm sorry. Y'all are just lying. Yeah, Market Watch. I can post it. I got it. Yeah, Market Watch. I got it.
There's no shot. Dude, how is there epistemology this off? Where like they're trusting... Why are they trusting this more than the Federal Reserve data? I just would never, like, that just never makes sense in my mind. Maybe it is just because I'm too much of an establishment cuck or whatever. Maybe it's Trump derangement syndrome. But that just never makes sense to me. I don't think I would ever, like, it is so foreign to me to like look at data from the Federal Reserve and then look at data from a online Market Watch survey and be like, yeah, I think the Market Watch online survey is more accurate. It's just so foreign.
Got it. I got the link if you need it. I knew people were going to ask for sources. Papa Gibbs came ready. Secondly, if we go back to my notes here, you know, y'all threw a de facto coup after y'all told us, hey, for months, years, Biden was fine. And y'all took Biden down quicker than a whore on nickel night. That motherfucker was stacking out of there so fast. I've never
dropped
seen
him like a prom dress. Dropped him like a prom dress.
Our candidate was losing the election, and we pressured him out, and now our current candidate is leading the election.
And it was based, and I'm glad we did it, and it was good, and it was not anti-democratic.
Your guy tried to...
Wait, stop, guys. There's three people talking at the same time. Gibbs,
the entire...
Wait. Gibbs, I'll give you 15 more seconds. Then we'll have a lefty respond, and I'm throwing it over to Turk because Turk is gonna cry. I can see the pain on his face.
He's literally on the beach sitting here drinking Mai Tais. Whenever we look at Trump, when he left office, inflation 1.9%. It went up 9% in the first year Biden went up, and it's gone...
Wow, substantive analysis going on there, buddy.
Skyrocketed. Since then, it's been... dog shit ever since the
Biden. Why did it go up around the world then? Why did inflation go up around the world?
Are we the superpower?
Are you responsiple for that?
Yeah, we're the superpower.
Oh, could it have something to do with the world reserve currency being the dollar?
I don't understand the mechanism that Andrew thinks is translating the U.S. inflation from being the world reserve currency to like other currencies than having higher inflation. It would affect foreign exchange rates, but I don't think it necessarily means that other countries are going to have higher inflation if we have high inflation just because we're the world reserve currency.
No,
don't think that necessarily follows.
You think it's the world reserve currency? That's why
What is the
everyone.
lingua franca?
Right?
I mean, I don't know.
Why is it that inflation grew across the world? Andrew, go ahead.
Bro, of course, American policies and American economics are going to affect inflation all
Answer
over
the question.
the world. I just did. I just answered
Too much
it.
money, not enough goods.
They don't like your answer, so it's not going to count.
Which
Yeah,
policies?
no
Which
shit.
American policies? Which
Wait,
policies?
Andrew,
shit.
can I just ask? Do you
American
believe?
policies? Which policies?
I just wanted to get clarification.
Which
What-
policies?
what-
Stop filibustering.
Can you let the mod speak for 10 seconds?
This ain't the whatever podcast. Why don't you answer which policy?
Okay, wait. Okay,
Bro.
let's stop for a second. Andrew,
is it your show?
I wanted to. Andrew, what do you think caused the inflation crisis globally? And then we're throwing it to Turk.
Which policies?
Which policies led to that?
So I would say that the Federal Reserve and the
Interesting. The Federal Reserve, which is actually not something that the president controls. Interesting fact here. They don't actually control that. It's actually independent. Trump wants to control it, which is probably not a good thing. But you won't ever talk about that, will you? Now, Andrew?
policies the Fed has, which has inflated the currency artificially, and the reason that they did this is because they needed to pump billions of dollars out into the economy for all these social relief programs, has caused not only inflation in the United States, but has been extended to our neighbors as well, especially
Who signed
anybody
the CARES Act into law?
Bro, you gonna let me
Who
finish?
signed the CARES Act into law?
Are you gonna let me finish?
Federal
Hutch?
Reserve signed that.
we gotta give Andrew some time to respond quick.
I mean, Andrew is somewhat right here. I mean, the Fed, at the end of the day, has the decision whether or not to print money. They're under no obligation to, if the government spends money to finance the deficit spending. They don't have to. They're under no obligation to do that. They can't. That's what monetary offset is. Monetary offset. That's what monetary offset is. But he's somewhat right, but in a dumb kind of way.
Yeah, let me finish, Hutch. Yeah, so I would say that was one of the primary reasons. And if you say, well, wait, bro, stop talking so I can finish my point. Remember how you were just bitching 5 seconds ago that I kept cutting you off even when I wasn't cutting you off?
Yeah, you're all cutting each other off all the
Federal
time.
Reserve. You didn't know what the Federal Reserve did. And then
Wait. This is taking too much time than needs to. Andrew, finish the question
Literally
quickly.
did. Why do you think you saw everybody nodding their head? They totally agree with me. So on top of this, Pisco, just so you know, yes, they pumped it in. Now, is Donald Trump responsible for some of this policy? Yes.
What do you mean? What do you mean the Federal Reserve?
Wait, can we let him finish? Okay, let him finish.
Bro. Again, calm down, Pisco. Yes, Fed policy led to massive inflation. Yes, Pisco, because the United States government was pumping billions of dollars artificially in order to take care of this Relief Act.
Well, the Fed is arguably not directly part of the government. It's like a quasi-government
now, you
thing.
can say,
and again, it's under no obligation to actually finance the guy. The Fed can't even buy bonds directly. They can indirectly finance to buying a government bonds by giving private banks money, and they can then use that money to buy new government bonds, but they can't even directly buy bonds from the Treasury itself.
That's Trump's fault. That was passed under a bipartisan agenda. All sorts of people wanted this. All sorts of special interest
that wasn't full grown.
groups wanted this. Now, absent C-19 and the lockdowns, Trump's economy was fucking roaring. And you have only just now successfully pivoted away again from the point that you have not addressed what Kamala Harris's policies are going to be to lower gas prices, lower food prices, lower the inflation rates, or any of these. You just say, well,
they're already low. We did it. We're done. We fixed it. It's like already, inflation is already at like 2%. Like
he's going to build 3 million new homes. Yay!
Mission accomplished.
Can you answer the questions which have been asked to you?
When you say the Federal Reserve pumped it up, are you saying lowered interest rates?
No.
He means they did quantitative, like they. Yeah.
Oh no, Pisco.
What do you mean by pump? What did the Federal Reserve do?
I'm going to explain.
Yeah.
Then let me explain. If you increase the money supply, you inflate the money supply. Right?
How did they increase the money supply?
Bro, answer my question first.
I mean, obviously, the Federal Reserve increased the money supply during COVID because we needed to. But
I agree.
They did cut interest rates during COVID. They also changed the reserve ratio. They changed the reserve ratio down they what was the other? Oh, the interest on reserves they change. Yeah, and the discount rate. Those are the three.
That
right. So if the United States government, if the United States government calls for billions of dollars from the Fed and for the Fed to print billions, it's going to increase the money supply, thus increase inflation. This is
I don't understand the United States government calls for the Fed
to print government. So if the United States government calls for billions of dollars from the Fed and for the Fed to print billions.
That's not how that the Fed is independent. Again, they don't have to do anything as they don't wanna. They do what they think is best for the economy.
It's going to increase the money supply, thus increase inflation. This is basic Pisco.
Well, does the Federal Reserve make appropriations? Who makes appropriations?
That would be Congress.
Okay, so the Federal Reserve didn't do shit that you're pointing to. What you're pointing to are acts of Congress, isn't it? Not Federal Reserve policy?
No, that's not all that happens, as you know, Pisco.
No.
So the M2 money.
Bro.
Do you want me to answer real quick?
Yeah,
the M2 money supply. The M2 money supply. The M2 money supply that went up 50% is from the Federal Reserve. That means the Federal Reserve increased the amount of dollars in circulation.
So why are we? I don't know. He's correct here. Why are we blaming Biden and Harris so much for the inflation then, if it was all Federal Reserve stuff? By the way, the money supply thing is true in the long run. In the short run, obviously, government spending does have an effect on inflation via aggregate demand. But in the short run, the money supply doesn't necessarily. Well, it depends on the velocity, but the increase in the money supply doesn't even necessarily cause short run inflation. It causes long run inflation, depending on velocity again. But
by about 50% since like 2020. Is what you're really trying to tell me is not $1 of that creation was except what Congress told them they had to do in specific bills? Is that your argument?
What I am saying is the Federal Reserve.
What Congress told the Fed? Congress does tell the Fed what to do to some extent, but they don't. They didn't do that in this case. I mean, the Congress created the Fed, right? They can change the rules the Fed operates in, but I don't think they. To my knowledge, I don't think they said, "Hey, Fed, you got to print money to finance these bills." I think the Fed chose to do that on its own because they believed it was what it was best for the U.S. economy. That's how.
To increase the money supply, typically will lower interest rates. That's how.
That's not even okay. The Fed has a couple of tools. Let's see if I remember this. Okay, if I remember correctly, the Fed they have the discount rate. That is the rate at which banks can get loans from the Fed itself. So that's the rate at which, if a bank needs a loan, they can go to the Fed and get a loan from the Federal Reserve at the discount rate. They have the federal funds rate, which is that's the interest rate banks lend to each other for overnight lending. And then they have the interest on reserves, which I think is legally has to be the same as the federal funds rate, which is the interest on reserves is how much banks get paid for keeping reserves at the Fed. So instead of lending out all of their reserves, they can keep some of them at the Fed, and they earn interest on those reserves. And because bank loans create money, you reduce the money supply by raising interest on reserves. Yeah, and then they also have the reserve ratio. The reserve ratio is the percentage of it's a fractional reserve system, right, that banks use. The reserve ratio is just the ratio of deposits that banks have to keep in reserve when they give out loans. So I think it was usually 10% up till COVID. During COVID, the reserve requirement ratio is 0 right now. It's been 0 since COVID. Now, banks, in actuality, can't lend out infinite money. They're still constrained by other aspects of it, but it is 0. yeah, it is 0. These are some of the tools. These 3 are the different interest rates that the Fed has to affect the money supply. And then it also has more. It has more of these unconventional tools, and it also, I guess, has QE, which is when the Federal Reserve basically buys assets. Or something else, I feel like. I don't know. They have all sorts of weird tools when they reach the 0 lower bound, but like I don't know. I don't know if these people understand this. I feel like I'm missing
how Fed policy works. When you're talking about taking out loans, the government sells things called bonds. These are
lowering interest rates increases the money supply, Pisco, and if it increases the money supply,
okay, Fed 0 lower bound. Tools. Can I just give me a list?
Creates inflation, Pisco.
But you didn't point to.
You fucking idiot! I just explained this to you 5 times. You fucking moron!
Andrew, you sound really upset right now.
God, what a dummy!
You did not.
I literally just explained this to you.
You did not point to Federal Reserve policy just then. What you did.
I literally just
you're
did.
Banging on the table. You're banging on the table because I properly told you.
Pisco.
Oh wow!
Does that increase?
I can't.
He doesn't understand how the Fed
does it
works.
increase the money supply? Does it increase? Does it increase the money supply when they lower the interest rate?
Does he think there was never a point where we should increase the money supply? I don't know, if I was in this conversation, I would just be like, do we think that, well, I would try to get him to at least admit that there are trade-offs. So like, don't we think that increasing the money supply will probably decreasing the interest rate will probably increase aggregate demand, and that'll probably decrease unemployment. I'd probably try to see if we can get him to admit that there's trade-offs there, and then also, sorry, I was reading that. And then also, like, there are probably positive trade-offs to increasing the money supply at some points, at least. I don't know if he accepts this. Like, there's clearly a demand shortfall in COVID. It was like, this is like a time where we probably should be increasing the money supply, but
Federal Reserve is a central bank.
You're not going to answer the question, right?
The Federal Reserve is a central bank. It is not the one who is.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having
a central bank.
I didn't know that. It sounds like you're having some difficulty, so I'm going to explain it to you. Okay,
so explain it.
The Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve doesn't make appropriations or take out loans. The people who take out loans, okay, the people who take out loans and are the federal government. All right. So when the Congress writes a law, an appropriation by law, they will need to fund it, and they fund it through the Treasury. And if the Treasury wants to wants to borrow money, they will issue bonds. The Federal Reserve affects the money supply in different ways. So I'm asking you,
agreed.
They can't even buy bonds from the Treasury. They can only indirectly do it.
Reserve policy was causing the inflationary problem.
So I'm going to tell you again, for the 14th time, if the Fed lowers the interest rates, it's going to increase the money supply.
Okay.
And if it's Pisco, my turn, Pisco, my turn, Pisco, stop talking, Pisco.
Okay,
it's my turn.
Okay, wait, stop. Okay, wait, we're pausing this. Wait, I'm gonna mute you both. I'm gonna mute you both. Okay. Andrew, you got 20 seconds. Pisco, you got 20 seconds. Then everybody else gets to talk because I think everybody's sick of hearing both of you.
I want my last question. I want my last question.
Yeah, that's nice, Pisco.
Okay, wait, stop, both. Okay.
You're still spurging, Pisco.
Okay, I'm muting you both. This is the order. This is how it's gonna go. Pisco, you got 10 seconds to ask a question and 10 seconds to say whatever else you want to say. Andrew, then you get 10 seconds after, and 10 seconds after that. If anything else is said that's like, oh my God, I want to respond to that, it'll have to be somebody else. It'll just have to be somebody else.
Damn.
Because Turk wants to talk. Okay.
Andrew just said that the Fed policy.
Why did you just let him filibuster?
What?
Why you just? I was in the middle of
Oh,
my
what a
answer.
shit show.
I'm sorry, it's chaos. You're gonna have to work with it. Work with it. Work with it. Work with it, Andrew. Work with it. Work with it. He's gonna ask a question, and then you're gonna respond. It just said you're gonna be able to respond, Andrew.
Let me respond.
You're gonna respond after. You're gonna respond after. You're not debating the moderator. Either deal with the root, you gotta deal with the order because this is chaos. Okay, you're both dominating. There's 6 other guests. I gotta think about the audience. I gotta think about the other people. He's gonna get 20 seconds. Then you'll be able to respond. You'll be able to talk, Andrew, and you'll be talking more than everybody else still. Pisco, go.
Andrew just pointed to the Federal Reserve policy of lowering interest rates as the cause for global inflation. And he knows now, and that's why he's trying to stop me from talking, that who was pushing for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates in the lead up to the election was none other than Donald J. Trump. That's my statement. He can talk.
Andrew?
Yeah, so again, you can, if you increase the amount of money supply, when you lower the corporate tax, that's good. You want them to borrow tons and tons of money. You want tons of printing when the influx is going to corporations which are going to expand. That's an ROI. That's a return on investment. You want that. Under Biden.
I'm pretty sure we can look at any study here. I'm pretty sure the return on investment from lowering the corporate tax is going to be less than the return on investment for things like the child tax credit, which reduce child poverty by 40%. I would bet my life that the return on investment from the child tax credit is bigger than the corporate tax cuts, which I have a funnel graph here. These are the effects on growth from corporate tax cuts in a bunch of different countries. You can see they all hover around 0.
This is a totally different situation.
I love my Wi-Fi. Let's go. Fire, dude. Awesome.
You're doing, Pisco. You're just shifting the goalpost again. I knew exactly what you were going to say. I was happy to respond to it before you ever even said it.
Turk?
So this exchange in the debate is a prime example of what happened in the debate that happened the other night. People kept going to the past and Trump's policies and why Trump and Orange Man are bad instead of actually going and asking the different people on the stage pointed questions about their specific plan going into 2024. Pisco, I wanted to talk to you, but I don't want to hear your voice or Andrew's anymore. I want to ask the panel, do we feel like we got to learn more about Kamala Harris's actual preferred policies and some of the details? Because like Joe mentioned earlier, there's a lot of things that wasn't done in the previous administration. She wasn't really pressed on some of the guts of her proposals. So it's like, do we really feel like both of the candidates were questioned adequately about their current proposals going into 2024?
Yeah, Turk, nobody answered my question earlier about opportunity economy. No one was able to define that. I'm very happy to hear your answer.
Well, she defined it with different policies, like expanding the child tax credit, the $25,000 grant for first-time home buyers.
So again,
was that a Republican policy?
Question is not what is the high-level policy.
Sorry, there's 2 people talking at once. 1 second. It's Turk's question, but there was something there I'm going to let finish, and we'll throw it back to Turk. Hutch, you responding to Gibbs?
Yeah, the child tax credit, which has been a Republican policy for, I don't know, as long as I've been alive.
Republicans block it from being permanent?
Why?
They blocked it in the Senate from being permanent.
Oh, strategic, bro. All sorts of shit.
Like a Republican policy.
I mean, Trump is not exactly my thing. Policy-wise, he's too left socially. He's too left socially for you, really? I don't. But I pretend to like him because the left hates him a little.
Policy.
Democrats are the ones policy. She just picked it up, just like she picked up the no tax sunsets, just like she's put Trump's border plan, a wall in her ads. She has no real plans. She just listens to what people like trends, and she posts it.
Anybody can look that up.
Oh yeah, just like discussion.
This is total bullshit. Just like it's not answering the question you asked. He didn't answer the question I asked. He's over here just lying.
When Donald Trump was asked about his healthcare policy, he said he had a concept of a plan.
Wow, and you have zero plan. He's in options. That's not even true. He answered that he used what was already in
I have ever heard a candidate give on a debate stage.
Oh my God, you're misrepresenting.
And you say you have a concept of a plan?
Turk,
I can answer that at some point.
And you guys want to make this about policy?
So
literally nothing worse than what Turk said.
So that's the soundbite that everyone's running with. If you go back 30 seconds, a minute to that entire stretch of questioning, he goes and says, we're not going to replace it unless we can get a bill that is cheaper and it has better coverage than the current plan. You didn't listen to his answer.
I don't know why
you listened to the soundbite.
Trump says abortion is a states' rights issue. It's not. Oh, well, I mean... Trump has to make election considerations because abortion is such a winning issue for Democrats. Thank God. Thank God he's a dumbass and overturned Roe v. Wade. It's our fighting hope. Okay, Democrats can win it if we only focus on abortion. And thank the Lord.
But it's his job to pitch a plan.
You didn't hear it. You listened to the sound bite.
If I may,
he says, I'm not going to replace it unless there's a more detailed plan. It's his job as a candidate to articulate a plan.
If I may answer your question, Gibbs, if I may, right? So to answer that question, what he's saying is he has concepts, but in the confines of this, as I think we'll all agree, not even the best of debaters can articulate a well thought out, complicated policy in a platform like this. And so what he's giving is a general answer, just like Kamala Harris constantly gave general answers. So he said, look, we're not going to replace what's there unless we have a bill there. We have a concept. So they have concepts such as they want the free market more involved and things like that. If I may, I'll finish. I'm trying to not interrupt anyone. So I don't think I've interrupted anyone. So I'm trying to hope I get the same courtesy. When we're talking about specifically with Kamala Harris, is this debate was for different things for different people, and you may like that or not like it, but it is the truth. Trump wanted to do things like not come off as unhinged, pivot or pin Kamala Harris down on what she actually stands for. I think that he ultimately lost the debate because he failed to do some of those things. So your criticisms of him not putting out policies, that wasn't really what he needed to do for two reasons. One, because we could already see what the track record of a Trump administration would be, and despite what you people were going to try to say,
I mean, they've both been president. I guess Harris hasn't been president before, but a Biden administration, obviously. Life is a fundamental rights issue. It's outlined in the Declaration of Independence and the 14th Amendment. It's not fall under the.
It's going to be avoided over and over through this debate. I hope we could all agree that the election should just be a referendum of, do you think the economy and the border was better under Trump or under the Harris-Biden administration? No matter what you try to say that, but she's going to do all this new stuff. She's been there. Her people have been there for 3.5 years. They haven't done any of this. That's number one. But second, he's already put out a bunch of policy plans as well. Kamala Harris has literally hid from the press, didn't have policies up on her very website until a day before the election, and those policies she put up was literally the metadata showed just copied and pasted from Biden's policy, further proving she would just be an extension of, I promise that. Just let me finish this one last thing. So Kamala Harris, just because she said 2 or 3 things about policy and Trump didn't give a specific policy to your liking as much, it still doesn't answer the effect that Kamala Harris has flip-flopped on every major policy description she had in 2020, and the 30-second soundbite that she said, we're going to build 3 million homes and give people $25,000, does nothing to rebut that.
That's not just a 30-second soundbite. That's been like a consistent policy she has had for a few months now, since that speech in North Carolina. And more, I guess the speech in North Carolina was before the DNC even. But yeah, like the NBAism is now very much a part of the Democratic platform. So,
okay, so can I ask, Trump's solution for the housing crisis is to drill, baby, drill, shut the already shut down border, and kick out 20 million migrants.
The border's not shut down.
That is a reasonable solution that will bring down the cost.
Crossings are basically at like 2019 levels by now.
Do you think? Okay, so what's his plan then?
Okay, his border's
not shut down. Let's just get that lie out of the way.
Go ahead,
Biden's executive order. Biden's executive order did shut down the border when it.
Hold on. Immigration has gone up 62% in every state. Hold on. Immigration has gone up 62% in every state except for Texas, where Texas has implemented Operation Lone Star since 2001 and has been dramatically successful, despite the treasonous Biden-Harris administration coming and trying to stop them from, enforcing Texas borders. So every success we've had on immigration has been despite the impeding.
What's up, Grumple? Welcome.
Impediment of the Biden-Harris administration.
Wait. No, I want to. IRI was the one talking, so I want to throw it back to IRI.
I want to answer IRI's question.
Okay, I will go with you.
I'd love to hear.
States don't have the authority to allow murder according to the 14th Amendment. Neither does the federal government have the authority to do so. They have every duty under the Constitution to defend human life.
Conservatives tell us what Trump's solution is to bring down the cost of housing.
I ask you, do you know what drill, baby, drill means?
Well, we're already setting a record for oil production at 13.3 million barrels.
That is precisely
I can answer your question too.
So this is precisely.
Biden has proven that we can drill more under Biden than Trump. So what would Trump do to increase oil production?
And what happened once we started increasing oil production?
I mean, oil is an input for everything, so basically everything will go down at least slightly if if you increase oil production. The price of everything will go down slightly because again, it's an input for basically everything. But housing is probably actually the area where oil would have like the least effect. With I mean, it's used for transportation of materials. I'm sure homes require plastic. It's in wires and in outlet covers. I'm reaching here.
What
happened when we started increasing oil production under Joe Biden?
I don't know.
The inflation rate started to go down. The cost of transit of material, the cost of production of material reduced. There are several different economic factors that can be eliminated and are addressed by drill, baby, drill. And when Trump says, I'm going to do that even more, it's going to be even more.
How can we do more? We're setting a record under Biden that Trump was unable to do. Trump gave them the green light, and Biden broke the record. We're over 13 million barrels per day.
And
in a fantasy land that we're going to do more. We're just going to be enough.
There are plenty of oil reserves. There are plenty of oil reserves. We can go to more federal lands. We can unlock more and more offshore drilling. There is plenty of oil to be extracted from our nation.
He emptied our reserves to flood the market to drive the price down.
You realize that we just
wait. I want to. Sorry. I didn't hear Hutch say. I heard like the first 3 words from Hutch, and then I heard nothing else. So Hutch, could you finish?
Well, he mentioned the oil reserves. You guys don't give Biden credit because he emptied our reserves, flooded the market, and drove the cost of oil down.
Why did he do that when we
after he stopped doing it?
One more thing real quick. You say that when he started producing more oil, the cost of inflation went down. He started ramping up oil production right away. Do you guys understand that when
that was not right away?
You can look at the graph. Yes, I can link it in the chat right here. There's a domestic crude oil production
a couple of years for Joe Biden to finally start actually increasing oil capacity across the nation.
No, it's not true.
All right, then send the link. Let's talk about
increasing. Well, he said increasing oil capacity, releasing the reserves is not going to be increasing oil capacity. Really, it's just going to be fucking. There's going to be increasing the supply of oil, but not our actual capacity to produce it. But Biden did also approve a lot of drilling. Obviously, he approved more drilling than Trump did. So he did also increase oil capacity. I'm not listening to this. I can barely stand debate panels when I'm on them, including HD. Muting the tab. I'll be watching. I'll be around, but watching chat bang. Bay Scrumple. Have you been on Hippy Dippy before as a debater, Grumple?
Got the link.
What's stopping inflation was lowering inflation, and what's brought us down to 2.5 inflation.
Biden didn't drill shit, LMAO. I mean, we're producing more oil now than the history of ever. Like, we're producing more oil now than any country has in the history of the world. And what the fuck? September 16, 2024, Fortnite item shop. Ooh, Dark Bomber. Hey. This is a fire video, dude. Yeah, and he also approved more oil drilling than Trump did. So, I mean, no, we aren't, you idiot. I mean, you're just wrong on that. I mean, we can look it up. You're very confidently wrong on that. Hold on, I'm DMing people. U.S. producing more oil than any other country ever. Oh. Okay, thanks, fucking. United States produces more crude oil than any country ever. Don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I was on like the third one ever Friday show, and on another, I helped out the Sunday show trying to get new debaters. I'm in the
Federal Reserve.
I joined the Hippy Dippy recruitment thing, and Danabo, who's in charge of some of the recruitment now, was like, "Oh, hey, Nonfon, I've been lurking in your chat." So, if we had more oil, prices would be lower, and gas would be lower. I mean, gas prices have been coming down, so have prices generally. Inflation is back at like 2%. I think the big reason for inflation was A, the some of the money printing by the Fed, and B, the stimulus bills. But you can't prove it. Biden said himself they shut down. So my point has been proven. I don't know what you mean I can't prove it. That's overall, not recently. Man, you killed. This is talking about in 2023. What do you mean that's overall? What? We're producing. This is 2023 right here. I don't. Huh? Like right now, like as I speak, we're producing more oil. Than ever. You can't prove it. You have statements, no evidence. I just showed you evidence, and I can show you more evidence here. Actually, I don't know if there's another graph. Lefty joke, lol. Okay. Well, yeah, we're producing more oil than any other country ever. Don't know what to tell you. That's just true. But
Raising interest rates.
That is a contributing factor,
Under
I
Joe
agree.
Biden, the Federal Reserve has had excellent policy raising interest rates to lower inflation. Under Donald Trump throughout his presidency, he was asking always to lower interest rates. That's
Rob, I believe Rob's been waiting. Rob, you've been.
biased lies is not evidence. There's no proof for the stats. I don't know what the fuck to tell you there. What is this? This is a tweet about you. Another Hippy Dippy classic premieres. But you got banned? I should be following you on Twitter.
Been waiting, right? If I remember correctly. So what do you want to go
I've been
to?
waiting. It's not just inflation isn't just about interest rates. Lowering interest rates itself, it doesn't create additional dollars. The problem is the policies that were
Yes, okay. I think it technically does, but indirectly. So because the federal funds rate has to by law be equal to the interest on reserves, decreasing the interest on reserves, I think technically. Okay, well, technically, I guess by itself it wouldn't actually increase the money, but what was I gonna say? Fuck. But you're giving banks more reserves to lend out, so you are. It does decreasing interest on reserves increase money supply. So I think this does technically. A decrease in this is the reserve ratio increases the money supply, but I think technically this should. Interest on reserves should also, because that would increase bank reserves. Are bank accounts at the Fed counted in the money supply? Are bank accounts at the Fed counted in money supply? Deposits held by banks and other depositories in their accounts at Federal Reserves. There are several standards of measure apply, including the monetary base M1 and M2. The monetary base is summer currency in circulation and reserve balances, or at the okay, so it is included in money supply. Never mind then, it would not be included in money supply. Rob Nor W. God damn.
were largely that I am fully throwing all the
just
years. I said that the lowering, man, Pisco, I got to really
increases the money supply. Let me comment on one. I don't know what I have to say.
It's not economy. No, it's not economy. No, it is not economy.
It increases demand. I don't think it technically on its own increases the money supply.
101. I guess I'll have to explain this slowly for Pisco. Pisco, is your argument?
God damn, why is it? Why, Spectrum? Why? Why? I don't get it. Although technically, does decreasing the discount rate, I guess that doesn't directly increase the money supply.
Argument that
But decreasing the interest on reserves should, by proxy, increase the money supply. Can indeed increase the money supply.
Of lowering interest
the opportunity
rates,
cost of holding reserves increases. Banks become more willing. This is by proxy going to increase the money supply, but it technically won't actually increase it unless banks lend out the reserves. But you're giving them a bigger incentive to lend out the reserves. So
simultaneously by de facto creates additional dollars.
Yes.
Yep, that is incorrect. What happens is there is no connection whatsoever from lowering rates to the creation of dollars. Those are two separate policies.
That's not true.
Many times what happens is as follows. Interest rates are lowered, which means that people are more likely to borrow money. Then once people start borrowing money, the Fed will decide that, oh, now that they're
borrowing money increases the loans increase the money supply. For like this is basic credit creation theory, right? Are you swapping between Twitch and Kick says your last slide? Oh, I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi right now. Grumple, for whatever reason, is having a really hard time multi-streaming. So the way I multi-stream, right, is I stream. Not only do I stream to Restream, but I also just stream to YouTube and Twitch separately. I could not do it, but like I only get 5 platforms on Restream, right? So I have an OBS plugin that like lets me multi-stream. So I make one output source, Twitch, one YouTube, and one Restream. For whatever reason, my Wi-Fi is having a really difficult time recently. So I haven't been streaming to Restream. I need to get it fixed. But I tried multi-streaming and it was just too laggy, so I stopped streaming on Restream. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Yeah, but we'll figure it out because I do want to keep multi-streaming on everything. But
there's more money in circulation, we need more money. Therefore, they create more.
Oh, also credit creation theory. I'm pretty sure credit creation theory is basically accepted by everyone at this point, I think. I use Restream too with the way Restream works. It shouldn't be any different than any single target you're streaming in. Yeah, I know, but like it's but okay, no biggie. Yeah, no, I'm just saying like you can see like in my OBS, I have the multiple output thing. So Restream, even I understand Restream's only one upload stream. And then it just mirrors your stream on its own side. But like you can see I have one for YouTube. And then this one, the main one, is linked to Twitch, and then one for Restream. But I'm just not streaming to Restream because it saves me an upload stream, and I have one for Shorts as well. I don't know I don't know why, because my Wi-Fi was doing fine with it up to like a week ago. I have to call them and fucking yell at my ISP to get it fixed, but. Actually, ironically, I think I don't think quantitative easing is printing money, but I think banks giving out loans probably. Wait, where's sample? Okay, wait. I think Rob Noor might actually be totally. I think Pisco understands this enough to tell Rob why he's wrong, but I think Rob Noor is the total opposite of correct, because I don't think quantitative easing is directly printing money.
More dollars. So you were fundamentally incorrect in what you're saying. The reason that inflation occurred and that dollars were being printed was because Republicans, including Trump, supported disastrous lockdown policies under COVID. And you can criticize Trump for that, and he should be criticized. Unfortunately for you all, the Democrats and people like Harris and Biden wanted to do it way worse, and they continued to do things way worse, even once you had a Harris-Biden administration, which stymied our economy. Now, the question
economist will tell you that lower interest rates increases the money supply. That is a relation.
It's indirectly though, but
That is well known. It doesn't have to do with the physical printing of money.
oh, it's a relationship that is well known, but it's slightly different than his position before.
That everything else is code.
That's not the fact that you don't fundamentally understand how it works, and you're saying one
I don't think Rob understands how it works
necessarily leads to another.
I don't even understand how it works. I'm confused at this point. I don't know who's arguing
It's
what.
different than the answer you gave me that it is the same thing. Lowering rates is the direct.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It does lead to more borrowing. Yes.
It leads to more borrowing, and borrowing is printing money because banks create credit when they give out loans.
Which will then it lead to more dollars. I agree with that. But Rob is right that you said that that just lowering the interest rate by itself does it doesn't.
Okay. God damn it, Andrew. Andrew is right here.
They still have to borrow the money, Pisco.
Oh my God! Wait. So are you suggesting to me that there has ever been a situation in our history where the lowering of interest rates has not?
Pisco, he was just correcting you. That's all.
What's the correction? In fact,
well, the correction is that you said by itself, it does that. It doesn't. He says you still have to borrow the money. Is what he's saying.
Okay. Does printing the money increase the money supply?
Yes.
Yes.
But wait, no. You still have to hand.
How it? Okay. I don't know what it means by printing money though. Because when people say the Fed is printing money, they mean QE. And at this point, I'm pretty convinced that QE isn't really printing money. It's just shifting assets between reserve accounts and securities accounts. Before Fisco passed the bar, and when he was still a law student, he was like coherent and sane.
Hand out the money, but you still need to move the money to a place.
Lawyers lie more than anyone else. Okay.
No, you don't. If you print more money, you have more money whether you hand it out or not.
You got blown the hell out, Andrew, on the other question of interest.
Nobody can know you.
Why would you need? God, Akana Boy should have been on this panel, or like actually some wonk, or like someone who actually understands this, someone who understands it better than I do. Even I don't like. I'm having to chat GPT some of this shit still, but like.
You've never blown anybody out, Pisco, ever in your life.
Akana Boy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I like Akana Boy. I've talked to Akana Boy once. Akana Boy is a Nonfon fan. He hops in. He has been on my YouTube chat before. He's awesome. Akana Boy definitely knows way more about this than these people do. Everything I've seen from Akana Boy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. So. I guess you agree. It sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
I just did. I just did.
Everybody. I gotta say, everybody is very wrecked. Everybody is very pwned and owned in all types of pwnage.
True. They are all gaped.
Everybody, in fact, including me. There are people who have been waiting, so I do want to throw to them. I'm sorry to just derail. I just want Rob to finish up. And we'll have one response, and then we got to go to Gibbs and IRI, who've been waiting patiently.
There's plenty more to say on inflation. Just to say that under Biden it was way worse. Everyone knows it. They're trying to fudge the numbers. People don't want to talk about it.
They're trying to fudge the numbers.
Why the American people think the economy is better under Trump.
You know what? You're right, Rob Nor. They are fudging the numbers. You know what they're fudging it with? They're fudging it upwards with owner's equivalent rent. That's so true, Rob Nor. Wow, Rob Nor. I agree, Rob Nor. They are fudging it. Why are we all using CPI when CPI gives the highest measure of inflation? Why aren't we using PCE or a harmonized index which give lower measures of inflation? I agree. I can't believe the Biden administration would keep the inflation numbers artificially high. God, man. Why? Oh, fuck. I can see that on my minimap. Why did I dig straight into that? God damn, Rob.